Hey guys, I'm here with the Strymon Dig today. I said I was going to do a review or an overview of this pedal, and I guess today's the day. So what makes this a special pedal is not the fact that it's just a digital delay, but it's voiced very differently than a lot of digital delays, and it has two delay engines for a really cool ping pong, as well as having very good modulation. It also has a really good sounding filter. Bought this with my own money, bought it about a month ago. Been having a lot of fun with it. Haven't used it too much in songs yet, but I'm planning on doing that. So yeah, it's a digital delay, but it's voiced to have some vintage characteristics. It has adaptive delta modulation, which is really cool. It works on the principle of a known slope, and then you sample at 1 bit really fast. It's like 500 kilohertz, and then you can either have the bit represent being over the slope or under the slope, and that's how it basically samples. So you get a reduction in space that it requires, like memory usage. But it has very specific characteristics, especially if you have a really fast and strong transient attack. It kind of does some weird kind of compression artifacts. It's not really compression, but you heard it in the opening with that 8-bit sound. It sounds cool. It also has the very common 12-bit mode. It's trying to emulate stuff like the old Boss rack units and things like that. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's going for, or like the DD3, except in this case it's stereo ping pong and it has really good modulation. It also has a 2496 mode, which is just a pretty standard delay, except it has some dynamics, so it has a little bit of, I guess, ducking going on in it. The really cool feature is the second time division. You can have multiple subdivisions, but the more interesting one is this has the ability to automatically calculate and apply a golden ratio to the second subdivision. That's what I used in the pad opening. It makes for really good ambient washes that just don't get too overbearing. So this demo is going to be in stereo. I have it in ping pong mode. It's, I guess, like, in my opinion, it's the reason to get this. Don't get this if you just want a simple delay. If you're going to run it in stereo, this is why you get this pedal. I have a fairly standard patch here. It's just a flute, but it's going to illustrate some things. I have a DECO here. I was using it in the opening for the tape saturation. I might bring it in here, but yeah, it adds some harmonics. But so let's get started just with a 2496. I have it set in golden ratio. So actually we'll go start it in triplets. So the repeats can be set differently for each delay, so you can basically have the repeats die out quicker on the second delay or the first delay quicker. I'm going to set the mix to the same on both. We'll get into the filtering a little later too, but and I have the modulation. Let's listen to that without modulation. You can hear it dying out there. Just where, like I said, we're in the 2496 mode, so this is a clean digital delay with a little bit of ducking. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, so good sounding delay so far. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We're going to switch the second subdivision to golden ratio. See how nice that repeat structure just dies out. There's a filter as well, and I have the filter set to basically noon, so it's not doing any filtering. We'll add the filter. As you can hear, the repeats die out really quick when you have the filter engaged. You can also high pass it, so that's low pass. As you can hear, they die out with high passing. So that's cool. Alright, so I guess we'll swap over. We'll make the filter null again, and then we'll switch over to, well, let's hear the modulation difference. So, light, deep. Yeah, so you only have 3 settings, off, light, and deep, but they all sound fantastic. They're like perfectly voiced. Let's go to the adaptive delta modulation, and this is the lowest fidelity, apparently, of all the delays. I don't think it's really that low fidelity, but So 2496. And the filter is now set to 0, so there's no filtering. But ADM gets really cool filtering. So let's, actually we're gonna do a high pass filtering on that. Switch to dotted 8s here. And the way it dies out, it just gets brighter and brighter until the signal dies out. I think that's lovely. The low pass filtering, I think personally, sounds great in 12-bit mode. So yeah, let's hear the low pass filtering dying out in the ADM mode. Just with the mix back up here. Kind of just goes into the void in that. Switch back to the golden ratio, which is my favorite thing about this delay. Well, dotted 8s sound cool too, but yeah. So yeah, that's lovely. Let's set the filter back to center, so no filtering. Make sure the mix is set. Sometimes I bump that. Cool, so that sounds cool. We'll switch over to the 12-bit now, and I think the 12-bit is my favorite, especially in golden ratio when you have some filtering. Let's hear that example, especially when the modulation's high. Let's go to dotted 8s so you can kind of hear it. Without it becoming too smeary, I guess. I'm not going to say muddy because this delay never sounds muddy in my opinion. So that's no filtering, 12-bit mode, no modulation. Let's hear the light modulation in this mode. And then heavy modulation. I'm kind of using the flute patch because I've noticed that with like triangle waves and sine waves you can really hear aliasing, and I think it sounds lovely on this delay. So yeah, that's with the deep modulation, no filtering. So let's do my favorite thing to do with the 12-bit. So you set it to light, you set this to golden ratio, you set the time all the way up, you set the repeats to around here, yeah, and you set the filter. So here's the filter. So middle, you hold down tap and bypass. So the middle is no filtering, and then there's low pass all the way, and then there's high pass. You set the filter to a little bit of low pass right there. Swap this back so to make sure the mix is the same on both delay 1 and 2. And here's where it goes. Just listen to that die out. I think that is gorgeous. That's exactly what sold me on this delay. Just, it's a great sounding digital delay. That modulation, even with deep modulation, when you have that much filtering. I'm going to go back to plucked harp patch. I've used it a lot, obviously. It sounds great, but demo just that specific setting on the Dig with a plucked harp. I'll switch over to the ADM on that. When you switch modes, it abruptly clears the buffer, so... Not enough processing power there to really, like, have trails into a different mode, but whatever, that's not even an issue. So yeah, like I said with the ADM, so you have some compression on the 12-bit. The ADM adds what sounds like compression. It's not doing any compressing. It's doing some emphasis and de-emphasis to make it sound a little better. So there's equalization going on. It sounds lovely with pluck patches. Let me turn that filter off. Turn the modulation off too. Go to dotted eighths. That's where I think the ADM sounds great, is when you're giving it a plucked patch and you just let it trail off forever almost. Just gorgeous. And then back to the 2496, and then I think you can hear the dynamics in this. The delay never gets too much in the way with the 2496. So useful. Every mode is useful on this. Okay, so back to the 12-bit, I was talking a little bit about compression. So in historical terms, most 12-bit delays had some kind of companding to get more dynamic resolution out of this signal. And what they did is, what you do is you compress it going in and then you expand it. That's where the name compander comes from. But it adds a specific quality to pluck patches, and you can kind of hear that here, especially if I add some saturation to really kill it here. So here, we have those harmonics. I'm going to switch the modulation to deep here. Just the way it smears, it's almost like there's some diffusion going on. There's no diffusion going on, it's just because every time that it keeps repeating, it gets worse and worse. It degradates because it's recycling it in a 12-bit fashion, or like resampling it 12 bits. So it kind of diffuses it. And then when you set it to the golden ratio, which kind of like, it stacks the delays in a weird ratio, you kind of get a reverb sound to it. You still get the repeats, but it kind of like dies out like a reverb does. Thanks for watching my overview of the Strymon Dig. I really love this delay. It just sounds awesome. The vintage voicing along with the modulation and the filtering are fantastic. Now I do have to say, it is not my favorite digital delay as just digital delays go. The Volante is my favorite delay, period. That's a tape delay though. But my favorite digital delay, especially with some vintage modes, is the DD500 from Boss. This thing is just awesome. It just does so much. But the Dig is a close second, a very close second, especially with the way it handles ping pong and how easy it is to use and just how well the modulation sounds. But the other plus is that golden ratio mode, which you can do on the DD500, but you have to manually calculate what the golden ratio will be between two delay points. So kind of hard to do. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps somebody out.